Episode 12. Do you know someone who would be a great guest on the Telltale Fisherman? If so, go to tell.fish/guest and recommend them for the show. We won't bug them. We'll just give them the chance to share the story of their lifetime and become a fishing legend. Visit tell.fish/guest.
Welcome to the Telltale Fisherman podcast, where avid anglers share the story of their best fishing day ever to inspire yours. Now it's time for another epic adventure. So here's your host, John Woodson.
Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Jason Goodin. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Now, you are coming to us from Missouri, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We live in Columbia, Missouri. I'm actually from Kansas originally. My wife is from southern Mississippi, but we've been living here for about the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you do much fishing there?
Yeah, so of course freshwater up here, so bass and crappie, catfish. With the Missouri River goes through kind of the edge of our city, so there's some river fishing there, but we have a lot of small, like no wake lakes in this area that are really good, and I predominantly kayak fish,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's very well suited to that as well. And I'm fortunate enough I have some acreage and a pond in my backyard that's stocked, and so it's nice sometimes after work I can just go out there for a few minutes and just throw a line in, kind of break the stress of the day and just enjoy a little bit of wind down time. And it's a good opportunity. Also, I've got some small kids, so it's kind of a good opportunity to introduce them to fishing as well. So.
Absolutely. I like to call it a plan B. It's always good to have another place to go fish when
yeah.
one of them
That's
you
right.
can't get to, or the timing is not right for it. And that's one thing we're kind of blessed with here in Florida, anyway, where I am. There's always another good place to go fish. But so you mentioned kayak angling. That's something that I've gotten into recently as well. Talk a little bit about that and how you got into it.
Yeah, so I think I've been kayak fishing pretty regularly as my main kind of platform for fishing for 5 or 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd started going down to Grand Isle, Louisiana with my wife, which is just this little like 8-mile island southwest of New Orleans, about 10 years ago. And I met a fishing guide there, Danny Ray, and he mostly fishes from the boat, but he does do some kayak fishing, and he's kind of like this hippie fisherman. And he was like, "Hey dude," he's like, "You ever kayak fish?" And I was like, "Well, I've kayak fished a few times." He's like, "Man, there's this guy coming in from Alabama tomorrow." He's like, "You want to go paddle out?" He's like, wants to take some pictures and write a story. He's like, let's go catch some redfish. And so, we go out there, and he kind of teaches me, some of the art of, sight fishing in skinny water. And after that, like a few, big old redfish and, foot or two of water, screaming reels. And after that, I was hooked. So this was 5-6 years ago. So after that, then I went and then started looking up kayaks and, all the different kinds. And so I settled on, I bought a Hobie,
Mm-hmm.
it's got the Mirage drive, so like the foot pedals. And so I set that all up with my, I've got my rod holders, I got my fish finder, I got my fish bag. And so it's really, really well suited for shallow water. Even I fish some in like what I would consider to be like the bay and inshore. I've not ventured out to the deep blue yet. That's on kind of my bucket list. Someday
yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that and go after some bigger plagics and stuff in it. But it's really well suited to that. So the way that I kind of go about fishing it's kind of half about the fishing for me and like half about the exploring. and some about the preparation. And so since I live out of state, like specifically to Louisiana, I use Google Maps a lot to try to kind of pinpoint areas that I think will probably be, good water to fish and explore.
Right.
I always try to find a piece of water that has decent, like channel going into it. So it's something that's going to cause, some water flow. So Louisiana is, I think, a little different than Florida because they only have like an hour of slack tide. And other than that, it's always a rising tide or a falling tide. And although the tide will vary, we only have an hour of slack tide. And so, as long as you have some water movement, typically, the fish will always, be biting, whether that's in the morning or in the evening. The only time it seems to slack off is when it gets really hot during the day in like the midsummer months.
So you found the slack tide is definitely the off time for the bite there?
Yeah. So that hour of like slack tide usually is going to be slow. You can always induce fish like redfish, and especially you can always induce them to feed, but at least in my opinion, it's easier fishing if you find the fish that are wanting to feed or the aggressive fish. I mean, especially like if you're sight fishing, it's easier, I think, to catch them when they're in the feeding mood, as opposed to inducing them. You can get reaction bites all the time, but it's just, I think when you have water movement, that bait's being pushed through, the fish tend to, be more active.
Yeah, they're turned on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing more frustrating than watching the fish swim by your lure and just turn their nose and swim away. I've had plenty of those experiences for sure. So is the story you're going to share with us today from Louisiana kayak fishing?
It is. Yeah, it is from Louisiana.
So when we get back, Jason is going to share an epic Louisiana red fishing story. Stay tuned. An anchor stick for kayaks and small boats is a great asset to have on board when you want to stop and fish an area, or when you want to get out and wade. When the wind is honking and you are fishing over hard bottom in your kayak, canoe, or other small boat, a great anchor pole that can keep you planted is a must. Check out the one we like at tell.fish/gear in your web browser. All right, we are back with Jason Goodin, and I'm getting excited here because I've heard some epic Louisiana red fishing tales before, and I have a feeling there's another one coming here.
All right. Yeah, so, I had a hard time kind of narrowing it down because, there's so many fun kind of things that happen. You just never know, especially like when you're in a kayak, everything's right in your lap. I mean, that's part of what I like about it. You're right down in the water. It's kind of dirty, but there's a extreme kayak tournament that's called Ride the Bull. That's based out of Grand Isle, and it's been going on now, I think maybe 8-9 years. And it's a kayak or stand-up like paddleboard. You can have canoes, but nothing with any motors. And it's actually become the largest kayak fishing tournament in the world.
Really?
So I've been it's awesome. It's kind of like kayakers, it's just a very fun kind of thing, a band the night before and shrimp boil and things. So they have a GoPro like film festival. So this is like on a Friday. So on Saturday, there's like a shotgun start from the marina, and you've got like, I think the last couple of years I've been fishing, there's been somewhere between like 700 and 750 kayakers, going at it. So kind of like we'll all launch at the same time.
And all from the same place, huh?
All from the same place, all from the same marina. And then there's boundaries for fishing. So this is like in a pass. It's maybe about 3/4 mile wide pass and like 2 miles long. So you've got 700 plus anglers in this area. It's really colorful. There's a lot of camaraderie with that, but you're only fishing for one species, and that's bull red. So that's a redfish that's 27 inches or longer in length.
Right.
It's a cool tournament because it's catch and release, and so they have it set up so that there's support boats. So once a person lands a fish, the support boat will come over, grab the fish from it, revive it. They take it to the marina, they measure it, they weigh it. There's wildlife and fisheries there, and so they get to do all their like scientific measurements, like age, kind of get an idea of what the fishery looks like. and then the fish are all released in good health.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an awesome tournament. So 2 years ago, I was fishing this tournament. It wasn't my first year fishing, but 2 years ago I was fishing, and then again the tournament starts at 7. And I put a little bit of preparation into it. It's a fun tournament. There's a lot of luck, a little bit of skill, but a lot of luck. Are
Right.
you in the right spot when the fish come through? But I put out crab traps the night before, and I caught a bunch of blue crabs. And so I was using, on one rig, I was using live blue crab, and on the other one, I was using like frozen cut mullet, and that would be the commonest bait that people would be using in this tournament. And so this is like 7:38 in the morning. So the tournament just started. I paddled out to a spot kind of off this little island in the area that we can fish, and it goes from like 6 feet down to 16 feet, and there was some current moving through there. And so I thought, well, maybe there's some bait fish kind of being pushed up against the edge here, and there's good water movement. So I anchored in like 16 feet of water with my bow kind of downstream, and put my blue crab on. So what I do is I pull off the front claws so they can't pitch, and then I hook them through the back leg in through the body so they can still move really well.
Yep.
And I put it down, and I think I was probably just soaking everything for like maybe 5-10 minutes. And, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, you love to hear that sound. And
Absolutely.
my rod's bent over, and it's cool because like you're not right next to people, but you're close enough that like when somebody hooks onto a fish, everybody knows. And so I let go of my anchor, and it's got a buoy on it. And at that point, then, the fish is just kind of, it tells you where you're going to go. I mean, you can paddle some, but basically you're getting I call it a Cajun sled ride or sleigh ride.
Yeah.
And so, this thing just pulls me for like, I would guess it pulled me for like a quarter mile, and it's making runs, and I'm like, well, that's a good fish. I don't know how big it's going to be, but I'm like, it's a good fish. And so it's pulling me around, and people are like cheering, and they're calling over the support boats. And so by the time, I finally kind of get it close, there's a couple bay boats that are in the general, vicinity to give me a hand once I get it into the kayak. And at the very end, I still don't know, what. I have not seen it yet. I get pulled into another guy's anchor.
Oh.
And so I can feel this. And so now, man, I'm freaking out. I'm going, oh no, I've got this huge fish on there, and now I'm like hooked on his anchor, and so he's like, gently trying to pull his anchor up, and so it was kind of like, a little chaotic there. And finally kind of get the anchor out of the way, and I pulled up and net it, and I've got a huge, it's like a 28, 29 pound bull red sitting there flopping in my lap, and it just beautiful orange, redfish. And
wow.
And so the support boat came over and got it from me, got a quick picture, and took it up to the marina and got it revived. And then it's kind of cool because it's like on Facebook and Instagram, then they post a leaderboard. And it was so early in the morning. I think I started out, I was in 3rd place. And by the end of the day, I was in 7th place. But still, that was great. And, a guy from Missouri fishing a bunch against a bunch of guys that, fish down the coast all the time. It was pretty sweet. And
oh, yeah.
I got a low rance and a little bit of cash out of the deal. And just really, really fun kind of a experience to get to do that. So I've kind of made it an annual thing now. Go down, and I took my neighbor down and fished it with me last year, and this next year my wife's going to go down and fish it with me. And then it's just a cool thing to catch fish like that. And then not only that, but then they get released and go on. Those are typically the fish that will be the when they're that big, they're the ones that are the spawners and keep the cycle going. So
right. Yeah. So this was on the blue crab that you caught that fish, right?
This was on the live blue crab. Yeah, this was on the live blue crab.
You broke out the secret weapon there.
Yeah. I had read some like old timers and stuff use that. They use a lot of crack crabs down there, so they'll do the same kind of thing, but
split them in half, right?
A crab on a half shell kind of thing. Yeah. So I wasn't sure how it was going to go. They like the molten crabs too, but I didn't caught it. I don't know. I don't think it was the time for year for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, I caught it on the live blue crab. It was like the secret. I had like six six little blue crabs stuffed in a bait bucket, and paddled out to my spot, and lo and behold, that's what they wanted that morning. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you look down their throat and you see those rows of, it almost looks like teeth, but those crushers that they use for
the
eating those
crusher is very
crabs.
powerful.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a crab with its claws on it, you're thinking, how in the world can anything ever swallow this? But those redfish are just amazing in their ability to do that. Wow. So did you get any other bites the rest of the day, or?
No.
That was
the rest of the day it was like catfish, hardheads, things like that, and that's kind of how this tournament goes. Because usually there's a population of redfish that will live in this area year round.
Mm-hmm.
But in the late August, like early September, they school up into the bay, kind of the bay area for their annual spawn, and so. You're catching fish kind of coming through, and usually they'll come through in a school once or twice. It's like a 7-8 hour tournament. They'll come through once or twice, and when that happens, there may be 40, 50 fish caught in a very small window, and those support boats are real busy.
Oh yeah.
At that time, and so usually like first thing in the morning, and then usually kind of there's another run in the mid afternoon right before the thing ends, where there'll be usually kind of a run. Fish that kind of come through. So this is really cool. Last year I had a kid and his dad, they were fishing a tandem kayak,
mm-hmm.
maybe 20 yards in front of me, and I got to see a young, probably 8-9-year-old boy with his dad behind him cheering him on, bringing a nice redfish. So this is really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
Experience. So yeah,
then that tournament sounds like it's a lot of fun. Maybe I'm gonna grab my kayak and meet you out there one year.
Yeah, you should. It's nice. I mean, it's low key, and again, it's as much about luck as it is about skill. But you meet some fun people, and so it's kind of like a gathering of friends every year. After you kind of go and see a bunch of the same people year after year.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, and really glad you shared that story with us. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
After the show, please go to tell.fish to sign up for our email newsletter. You will get the inside scoop on new guests and contests before everyone else. We can't wait to welcome you aboard.
This has been the Telltale Fisherman podcast. Thanks for sharing another great tale with us. Be sure to check out the show notes page for more info on today's show and the gear we talked about. Keep those lines tight, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Telltale Fisherman podcast.